What does it mean to build your startup in Detroit?
I'm born and raised from Detroit, and people ask all the time, well, how's Detroit doing? And you know, Motor City is always known for being innovative. You know, as far as the cars that we all drive, there's so many things that come from the Motor City. So being able to roll that into technology in an area where we're experiencing a renaissance. You know, people know about a bankruptcy that went in Detroit 15 years ago. What comes on the other side of that bankruptcy is a lot of opportunity for growth, a lot of opportunity for development. There's a tremendous amount of development in our southeastern Michigan. So being able to be in construction, being able to be in technology in two areas that are disruptors in Michigan, and specifically southeastern Michigan, is really exciting, and I think it's proud. And I think when we go other places, we get a warm welcome as if while we're doing it in Detroit. Like when we went through the Black Ambition program, the Detroit story is one that people get excited about nationally. And I think a lot of people want to see Detroit win, and I'm really excited about that because things have come a long way, and we're getting very progressive.
I don't like to see Detroit win when they're playing the Miami Heat. That's just a personal thing. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about your process through the Black Ambition Prize, right? Because you know, our applications are open right now. Shameless plug, right? They close June 20th. And you said something really interesting in a conversation about when you applied. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Okay, I want to put a disclaimer out, but it actually happened, I think, several months ago. But we talked about me and Andre, the CFO, and Andre Davis, our CFO and co-founder, somebody I've known since 5 years old. So we're being able to build a business in this manner is a little unique for us because of our specific expertise. It matches right to what we're doing. But it was about 8 hours left before the deadline for Black Ambition. And we were in the office, we said, we need to fill this out. Because sometimes you see win $1 million, you're like, is it a scratch-off lottery ticket? What am I doing? But when we realized this was real, we sat out and we actually filled out the application. Now, thankfully, when I say fill out the application, we did not come and just throw a bunch of things on paper and put it on the website and say, here you go. Before that, we had actually went through a boot camp, and it's actually here in the Bay Area from 2 Michigan grads, Transparent Collective. And being able to get involved in some of these different workshops and understand what our value proposition was, our go-to-market strategy, refine our pitch deck, really helped us apply for Black Ambition. It really refined our statement. And you talk about people are accepting of Detroit, companies from Detroit now, and you're able to go a lot of places of investment. The pandemic was a big part of that because before the pandemic, we would have been in a workshop where we had to fly to San Francisco, stay there for X amount of weeks, fly back and forth. And what did that do to filter the amount of people to come to it? But because things were going remote, we were able to do a lot more, get exposed to a lot more different things that we just simply wouldn't have gotten into from the city of Detroit. And because of that, although we hit the button with 45 minutes left, we felt really good about what we were submitting because the information had already been refined by a lot of different experts, a lot of advisors ahead of time. And that's how we got applied to Black Ambition.
Anybody applying, please don't wait till the last minute. But if you do, like clearly, right? Yeah. And so I when you said that, I kind of cringed. I'm like, don't wait till the last minute. But then also, it's like if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? And you're really able to capitalize on opportunities when they come because you have done the preparation work, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so talk to us a little bit about like that this past year, right? And so you applied. We had about close to 2,000 applicants. We had almost 300 semifinalists, and then of those 300 semifinalists, we funded 34 companies in tech, in healthcare, consumer goods, and then this year we've added media and entertainment as well as Web 3.0 in the areas that we invest. But talk to us a little bit about like the 5-month mentorship, what has happened for you guys since winning the prize at $1 million. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I mean, first, when I get up here and I talk about Black Ambition, you know, I want to make sure I'm clear with people who are looking for capital and looking to invest, or companies that are looking for investment. I've been on the other side of the equation where you say, is it really all that it's cracked up to be? And you start to think about that. And I'm telling you, I'm the inaugural winner. And us at Livegistics, we're extremely grateful, not just for the $1 million, and I said this, if we never got $1 million, I still would have paid for the relationships and the actual experience I got through Black Ambition. Because I make it very clear, Black Ambition, there's an organization you can go get a check from. If you search around, you get grants, you do a lot of things. But this is not about a check. This is about changing a culture. This is about sharing the codes, which Pharrell always says. I'm still very involved in the Black Ambition program. Me and Andre, our team, we engage with them on a regular basis. A couple of companies from our C round are from Black Ambition relationships, from our mentors. So it's not as if when you apply for this program, you're just applying to win money. You are applying to be part of an organization that is committed to changing the narrative, to educating, to providing access to not just capital, but people who understand what you're going through right now. And it is a network, a strong bounded network that we talk about all the time. What our life would have been like without Black Ambition, I don't want to know, because it has been a tremendous add for us to this day. We obviously still celebrated. We closed the C round in March. We closed a $6 million C round. And I appreciate it. We just came from Austin, Texas yesterday, and one of our investors is Dan Gilbert's group out of Detroit. It's the only Detroit company out of our fund, Detroit Venture Partners. They took us down to Austin, Texas for a CXO event. And when we say we closed a $6 million C round, the people there are impressed. I'm like, wow, I guess that was impressive. I'm telling you, that doesn't happen without us winning Black Ambition. Because the stories that we were telling before Black Ambition are the same stories after, but that exposure, that notoriety, that boost to say, hey, this is legitimate. It was trendsetter, and it changed the way people looked at what we were doing. And I'm talking about CNN wrote articles, Billboard. We were in every publication about winning that award. And people started to pay attention because of the notoriety. And let's be honest, investors like to invest in what they see trends in. And I'm not saying that you want to be trendy or anything like that, but the importance is that your voice needs to be heard. And Black Ambition made sure that our voice was heard. We didn't change our mission, we didn't change our roadmap, we didn't change who we were selling to. It just got amplified to a tremendous level through Black Ambition.
Any advice for the founders that are in the audience on just like how to raise like their social capital, right? Because I think oftentimes when we think about diverse entrepreneurs, right, a lot of them are just building really amazing companies and have their head down. And what I've learned being in this role in the past year, and I'm sure what you guys have experienced being like our top prize winner, is like not only just like networks, right, but like how to cultivate those relationships. And nothing happens without relationships. And I think for a lot of us, I can speak personally, that was a long lesson to learn. But when I learned that, like things really took off, right? And so there's the need for mentorships, but then there's like, how do you find the right people? Where do you go? Where does the money really reside, right? Like who are those people? But then like, also, how do you actually cultivate those relationships so that it's not just transactional? I know I just asked you like 5 questions. So pick one. But like, just let's talk about cultivating relationships a little bit more and a little bit deeper than I think it is just like building your network or going on LinkedIn, because I think there's so many different layers to that, and I feel like you guys have learned a lot in this past year around that.
A tremendous amount. It is a relationship business. I'll first and foremost, we got to say that. I'll say I have to bring it back to Black Ambition. Us being able to not raise money when we needed it was really important. We won that award. And now we took a step back and we started to build relationships with a lot of different investment companies, because we didn't want just their dollars. We wanted their strategic planning. We wanted their what their insights were. What was the advantage of dealing with this one company versus this other company? And I can promise you, and Andre, kudos to our CFO, we leveraged a lot of that experience in what we formed is what our cap table looks like right now from our C round. Those relationships were built over several months. We got a chance to meet people, and we got a chance to talk to them. We kept them engaged on what we were doing. We started to have periodic conversations about the next steps, and we kept this momentum going. And in a matter of 2 weeks, we were able to get 3 offer letters, 3 offer sheets, term sheets. And that didn't start because we decided to do it 1 month in November. Literally, that was a several month process built on relationships. And we learned a lot of that because we were sitting in Black Ambition. We had mentors who brought exceptional people to the room and got a chance to just pour into us and talk about what it was like on this side of the table, what it was like on this side of the equation when you're trying to be a startup, when you're trying to be an investor. And it's funny, one of those people actually who taught us a lot about how you leverage what you're doing against investors ended up being one of the firms that led our leader in our seed round. So when we were starting to use the tools that they taught us in there, he laughed and said, "I taught you that. That's good." Because what they learned was that when you start to understand relationships, when you understand what everybody's looking for, those key performance indicators, the wants on both sides of the equation, you want to put yourself in the best position possible. And I'm talking to my startups right now, the people who are here. This is your baby. You know, this is the business that you dreamed about. This is everything you want. And I'm not trying to, dismiss investors, but investors, their role is investing. They do it in more than one company. So nobody knows more about your business than you, number one. We learned that. But you can be grateful, don't be humble. That's something I learned from Felecia. Do not think this is some type of charity. This is your opportunity to win. And when you go in there and you're able to use that as leverage on when you're negotiating your terms or building relationships for whatever round you're in, then you put yourself in the best position possible for growth.
I love it. So once you receive funding, right, and you guys have some really impressive funds that are on your cap table, talk to us about this new leadership role that you have to step into as a founder once you have the funding to have kind of this runway to be able to build. Because I think we don't think about that enough, right? I think there's this big race to raising the money, but then the entrepreneur itself has to become more of a CEO, managing a team, growing a team, cultivating relationships, looking at the road ahead. So talk to us a little bit about you and Andre, what different type of entrepreneur did you have to become in that next stage of growth for your company?
Well, early on when you're a startup and you're just trying to figure out everything, you're in your business and your head's down and you're doing everything you can to get exposure and get people to understand what you're doing, whether it be exposure through revenue, whether it be exposure through user bases, whether it be exposure through social media, whatever it may be, that's your focus. But people invest in teams, obviously, but when you get to that step where you got that capital and you're starting to build a team, we're a team of four the start of 2021. Right now we're a team of 28. So the shift happened where as CEO, as leaders, we have to work on the business a lot, not just in the business. Meaning that we have to take a step back and make sure that first and foremost, we're in the people business. Even though it's tech, our most important asset is people. And making sure that the culture that we want to use, especially in a remote environment, is being projected. And that's international because we've got people who work on as a team member on Livegistics who are in Ukraine. We had to support a developer who was going through the situation there recently. We've got people on both sides of the coast in the United States. How do you do that when you're not a brand that everybody that knows, but you have a certain culture that you want to exude all the time? And you have to be intentional, first and foremost. I learned that from my previous post. I worked in a space where it was minority owned. I looked up and I said, well, where are the minorities? And the problem is that a lot of times you can do a lot of things and work hard, but if you're not intentional about your mission, if you're not intentional about the way that you want to go to market, and ours is, we're very diverse, we're very inclusive, open, honest communication, leadership. There's no hidden agenda. These are things we talk about on a regular basis. And we build them into programs when our team gets together. And this is what I mean by we have to work a lot on our business. When we're meeting with our investors, we do periodic things where we talk about each one of our investors has a specific focus that we saw as how they can help our business. And there wasn't much overlap. We really wanted them to focus on certain aspects because we felt like that's what they brought to the table. So we started developing task force where we had our actual investors and their leaders on that round lead those task force and be able to use those strategic assets that they told us about when they invested into us. Now let's put those things in motion. So now we're looking at it from, not just what can I do today, but what does the roadmap look like for Livegistics over the next several months, the next several years, and we start to build that momentum with our team. It starts to go into our marketing, it goes into our sales funnel as well, and that's where we see, obviously, opportunity to grow, and everybody understands we're on the same page when we're growing as a team.
So in building Black Ambition, right,